welcome to the program Discuss here on Global Television. I am Samuel Odi. Many thanks for joining on today's edition of the program where we dive into and x-ray most of Nigerians' major talking points, and today is no different as we turn our attention to the protest organized by activist Omolere Showore in line with hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu. This conversation has been ongoing, has been in the Nigerian political space and social space for over a couple of years now, and I'm going to be bringing you, a bit of background around Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, on his first arrest, and the story all around, and also I'll be having a conversation with the public affairs analyst who will join us virtually on this same subject matter, and also have our own political correspondent who will be coming up shortly, who was on ground when the protest is happening, and he saw firsthand what was going on the protest scene. So let me give you a quick background of the situation with Nnamdi Kanu. Kanu is the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, a socialist movement in the Nigerian southeast region, seeking the revival of the idea of the Biafra idea. IPOB was prescribed banned by the Nigerian government as a terrorist organization. The region has a history of succession in the late 1960s. That's where we talked about the Biafran War, which gives this historical weight. Then we are going to look at key arrests and legal events. The first arrest of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was in October 2015. On about 14th October 2015, Kanu was reportedly arrested by the State Security Service, SSS, in his hotel room in Ikeja, Lagos State, between 14th to 17th October 2015. I beg your pardon. His whereabouts were known until it was announced on 18th that he was in detention in Abuja. Protests followed across several southeast states: Delta, Enugu, Rivers, Cross River, Abia, Imo, etc. For the example, women protesters gathered at the Delta State Government House in Asaba on the 20th of October 2015, demanding his release. Bail disappearance, a Python dance home raid in 2017. Kanu was granted bail at some point after his 2015 arrest on health grounds, among others. He later fled Nigeria in 2017 while on bail. In September 2017, the Nigerian military carried out an operation often referred to by the IPOB, the Python dance in the southeast, that involved Kanu's residents. Many IPOB members were killed in the raid. And then the rearrest of the re-edition in 2021. In 2021, Kanu was arrested in Kenya and extradited to Nigeria. How exactly this happened is in contest. One piece described the arrest as an extraordinary re-edition. On July 26, 2021, the court ordered that he would be held in detention at the Department of the State Secret State Service facilities. The formal charges multiply multiple counts, including terrorism, treasonable felony, incitement via broadcast, and being the leader of a banned organization. He pledged not guilty. Legal proceedings on the current trial statute. In February of 2025, the Federal High Court in Abuja indefinitely adjourned the trial after Kanu raised objection about the judge's impartiality. In December 2023, the Nigerian Supreme Court reinstated the terrorism charge against Kanu, overturning a lawyer count dismissal. As of March 2025, he is facing a new trial under a fourth judge, having pledged not guilty to 7-count charge. Then moving on now, protest and mobilization. Right after the 2015 arrest, protests broke out in several southeast states. Women's group, IPOB supporters, example, October 20th, 2015, the Delta State protest happened. Most recently, in October 2025, there were planned nationwide protests under the banner hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu. Now, the National Association of Nigerian Students, NAS, declared its intention to mobilize for the 28th October 2025 nationwide protests. Activists Omolore Showore announced a march to the Aso Rock Villa, Abuja for the date. The National Youth Council of Nigeria warned youths against joining the protest on the 19th of October, citing a court order obtained by the police to restrain the protesters. The court, that is a federal high court in Abuja, on the 17th of October refused the police to request to stop the protest, meaning the demonstration could proceed. Some groups opposed the protest. For example, a civil society group, Rescue Aliko Movement, on the 16th of October, staged the protest against Kanu's release, arguing that freeing him would not solve insecurity in the southeast region of Nigeria. The key issues and contest points: legalities of the arrest, extradition. There are claims the 2021 arrest was by re-edition and violated Kanu's rights. For example, one Nigerian court's ruling described the 2017 arrest as illegal. Banning of IPOB. The government considered IPOB as a terrorist organization, while IPOB and supporters view the movement as a legitimate self-determination campaign. Protesters' nature and effect. While many supporters support Kanu's release, others argue his movement contributes to insecurity in the region, and most focusing on his release may be missing broader issues. Seeing the 16th of October 2025, protests rejecting calls for the release, trial days, and fairness. Kanu's defense has complained respectedly about George's judgment and claimed lack of confidence in the process. And then, why does this matter? Nigerians may ask. The case intact issues of national security, self-determination, ethnic identity, rule of law, and human rights in Nigeria. The long hiatus from arrest in 2017 appearance to the nearest in 2021 has raised questions about the due process and what the state can and cannot do. The mobilization of youth, academics, students, and the diaspora shows that the persistent political resonance of Biafra idea, the southeast region, remains plagued by insecurity, kidnapping, violence, and this feeds into the debate over Kanu's role and how to resolve this crisis. And then the current situation we can see all over social media, and still we have live feeds that shows that the entire city of Abuja, protesters being dispatched, roads being blocked, and individuals finding it hard to get into town for their daily activities. Now, being joined live in the studios is our own political correspondent who was there on the scene. But before we bring him up, despite warnings, there's a report that shows that despite warnings and security directives by Nigerian police force, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, the organizers of the hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu protest took to the streets of Abuja, triggering sweeping security lockdowns across the Federal Capital Territory. And then the protest, led by activists and former presidential candidates Omolore Showore, defied a court order under the law enforcement, warning that banned the demonstrators from approaching the presidential villa and other designated critical national assets and infrastructure. Showore, the convener of the hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu protest now, had earlier warned security officers operative via social media, declaring that any brutality against peaceful protesters will be met with accountability. On the Kefi Abuja Expressway, soldiers mounted a roadblock at Karo Bridge, crossing several traffic gridlocks, leaving thousands of civil servants and traders commuting from satellite towns like Nyanya, Karo, Maraba, and Masaka stranded, which is a very big concern. So joining us, who was on the ground now to see the current situation of Nigerians who are trying to find their way to the offices, are talking about market women, civil servants, and also corporate organizational individuals who go to work from Nyanya and Masaka, is Ubong Usoro, our political correspondent. Good morning, Ubon. Thank you for good afternoon, rather. Thank you for joining us on Discourse today.
Thank you so much for having me. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, so we saw you were on ground and you witnessed firsthand what was happening. We saw some tear gas being, shot out by police operatives. So run us through what you saw outside.
Right. So by the time we got to the Federal Secretariat, because we're trying to locate the exact points of the protesters. I have a few friends who are in the movement, so I called them and they told us that at the moment they got to the Federal Secretariat early in the morning. They were dispersed. They tried moving to Utako to gather again. They were dispersed, but that we should just wait at the Federal Secretariat, that they are coming back to the Secretariat. All right. So, so after waiting for some time, we saw the police. They were very friendly to us as reporters, and we spoke. We just talked, and the protesters were now moving towards the Federal Secretariat again, and when they got there, they started talking. You could see the guy on the screen now who was talking to us. I was trying to, get their views on some of these issues. So, and as they were there, a lot of other people were also coming out to join them. So that was when the police started firing tear gases, trying to disperse them. And the police started firing those tear gases on them. And the protesters had to run. Some took towards the left, some took towards the right, and some also had the courage to also pick up those tear gases and fire back at the police. So it was a very sad situation. We even have a picture, or maybe a subsequent bulletin. We captured a guy that got injured as a result of a tear gas that was fired by the police, and we have that picture live. Maybe a subsequent bulletin will bring it. So
yes. So looking at it now from those angles, we are hearing that some persons also come out to protest against the protesters, saying that freeing Nnamdi Kanu is not going to solve the problem, the insecurity challenges that Nigeria is facing, and it was not going to take away the sit-at-home policy that is over there in the east, and the kidnapping and every other negative things happening. Do you think that these individuals are actually standing with the government, or do you think they are being sponsored by some individuals who are looking at, having a benefit, to benefit from the entire situation?
Right. So we saw those other persons that you're talking about, the pro-government protesters that were protesting against the release of Nnamdi Kanu. We saw them when we were going to the Secretariat to actually get all of these things. But by the time we came back, we could not see them again. They are displaced. But we have people who are actually at this moment protesting against the release of Nnamdi Kanu. Are they sponsored? Yes. Right, but who is sponsoring them? Those are the questions we can't answer because we don't have the facts to that. Because today is a Monday morning.
Yes.
For people to leave their jobs, leave their offices, and come out and protest and say, don't free Nnamdi Kanu, that takes a lot. And that Moyele coordinated some persons. So who is the person that's coordinating those who are protesting against the freeing of Nnamdi Kanu? Faceless at this point. But it shows you that there's some coordination that goes in, because these guys have jobs. These are not just jobless people. They are leaving all of their jobs, coming to protest against the release of Nnamdi Kanu. So there must have been, some programming. And the way politicians does this thing. Maybe somebody could just go meet Mr. President and say, don't worry, they want to protest against you. I am going to make sure I also organize a counter protest. I'm trying to get favor. So a lot of things can go into it.
Okay, looking at it now from those angles now, basically, like, even if there are people being sponsored now, we know if anything happens for now and the peaceful protest goes sideways, we know the government know who to hold responsible, but now nobody can tell who is actually protesting against the protesters of those seeking for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. So looking at this concern now, there was a court order that says you can protest, but you don't have to come to certain areas. Do you think if individuals had protested, let's say, around Lugbe and Maraba axis, do you think the message statement directly to the president, and what security hiccups do you think that would cause if these individuals had gotten to that level?
Right. So, a night before that protest, we had a court order that said the protest should go on. But just before then, we also had another court order. That's what the police who spoke to me off the camera talked about. That there's a court order that said the protest should not go on, and I saw that court order. Right. I saw that story. So, conflicting in a way, but we know that fundamentally humans have the right, Nigerians have the right to protest. Yes. But also, before you go on a protest, as to show civility, you have the right to the police because they are to offer you protection during the protest. So the protest is not being hijacked. For me, I think that at the moment the country is a bit tense. There's a lot of the electioneering period is coming. There's a lot of hookups, and some politicians may want to hide under the carpet of these protests.
Yes.
So, and saying that they are moving to Aso Rock, that's the seat of government. It should be respected. It should not just be any. We have Nnamdi Kanu may just be one out of thousands of Nigerians that are in jail.
Yes.
Some of them for germane reasons. Some of them have not done anything to the Nigerian states meriting them being at jail. So if we are going to Aso Rock to talk about now, who is going to go to the presidential villa to talk about the other Nigerians who are not as popular, who are not as known as Nnamdi Kanu? So for me, I think that the message could be rightly delivered without putting it as an assault. I want to come to the presidential villa. Is it a must that you must get to the presidential villa?
Yes.
This, I understand that there are countries people can say anybody can walk into the presidential villa, but let's understand the security concerns we have. Who are these protesters? Who profiled them? So that we don't go with terrorists, we don't go with people because sure does not, he may not have the data of those who are joining him on the protest, and the police doesn't have this data, so it doesn't really make sense to the security threat. That's what the police people were talking about, that if you are protesting we don't have a problem, but please can you keep distance from national assets. We saw what the rampage that happened during NSAS. We're all in this country, and we know a trigger. These things can just happen in seconds. Emotions are involved, so we have to keep them. I think that's what the police are trying to say.
Okay. Well, we'll be joined by a public affairs analyst who will be joining us virtually to have more of this conversation. Ubong is a very busy man, and I would really appreciate you for taking our time to join us on Discourse today as you go ahead and keep getting us the actual facts of the incidents happening on the field. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So we'll be going on a very quick break, and then when we return back, Discourse continues as we look at other legal angles to this whole situation and also how it's affecting the business on the first business week of the week. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Yes, many thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining, this is Discourse here on Global Television, and I am Samuel Odi. We're looking at the conversation around Nnamdi Kanu's hashtag free Nnamdi Kanu protest now that is currently ongoing nationwide. And I have a public affairs analyst in the person of Whatnot, Amechi, who is joining us from the East. Good afternoon, Amechi. Thank you so much for joining us on today's edition of Discourse.
Yeah, good afternoon and welcome to the show, everyone.
Yeah, so Amechi, I know you've been following this particular subject for over a couple of times now. So can you give us briefly remind our audience of who Nnamdi Kanu is, and also how the Biafra movement became such a powerful idea in the southeast, and the current situation of the seat at home, and the current situation of today's activities, that's a protest, how it's been going on around the East.
Okay, thank you very much. You see, the persona of Nnamdi Kanu is something that cannot be reduced in a simple definition or explanation. It means so many things to so many people, depending on where you stand from to look at him and what he represents and what he is agitating for. But speaking as an Igbo man, a resident of the southeastern part of Nigeria, Enugu State precisely, and Enugu City, I would want to say that Nnamdi Kanu fairly represents the feeling of the average Igbo man in Nigeria today. But I also want to say that some people, however, feel that while what is agitating for is legitimate, they have some issues with how this done one way or the other. But I want to say that yes, of course, it is a valid argument to say and to suggest and to hold that the Igbo people of Nigeria are feeling seriously marginalized by series of government, series of through series of activities and actions that they have made it all too plain for the whole world to see. Is be it appointments, be it government appointments, be it employment opportunities, be it policies, projects, and all of that. And it has happened in different ways depending on the government of the day, how they want to go about it. But it appears that like there is a kind of conspiracy against the Igbo people since after the Civil War to keep them in checks for whatever reason some of us do not know. We've tried to kind of distill the whole thing to kind of understand more why it is so. But sometimes one would want to think that it is just out of sheer hatred. Sometimes one would want to think that maybe some people are not comfortable with who we are. Sometimes some people just want to keep the people of Southeast in checks out of that fear of domination or something like that. I don't know. But the thing is that it is not healthy for our national unity and the growth and development. And that is what Kanu has been trying to say. That if you do not want us, which you have shown repeatedly, consistently, you don't want my people, then we are going to explore being on our own. And I want to tell you that personally, I like Nigeria. I want to be a Nigerian. I prefer a Nigerian where everybody is equal to express himself, where everybody is equal to explore his opportunities. But in Nigeria where I am deprived, in Nigeria where I am denied because of who I am, because of where I come from, is one that never encourages this. So Nnamdi Kanu represents this feeling by the average Igbo person. However, we must also acknowledge that there are some people who are going about expressing this anger or disapproval of this treatment in ways that do not represent either what we understand or what we want. Personally, I don't think that we should need any violence to do that. And Kanu today has been in detention for how long? And nobody has been able to prove any point against him. He has not, as far as I'm concerned, broken any law because he haven't not found any guilty. Guilty of any offense. You cannot just be holding somebody like that, and that is what has been creating this instability, this agitation, and this pressure in the southeast. For instance, today, because you asked me what this place look like, the streets are deserted, stores are shut, the roads are empty, businesses are closed, people are off the streets, the schools are shut, and for various reasons, people just want to. Many want to respect what today stands for. Many choose to stay out of the streets out of fear because, of course, in those days when at the peak of the sit-at-home crisis, people were being attacked and all that by those who want to enforce it by all means and by force, who want people, whether they like it or not, to stay. But I always believe that the protests are things that, Nigerians have every right to protest whatever they don't like. But the issue has always been how you go about it. And for me, if somebody decides to stay home, not to go out as a means of protest, I don't think that person has done anything bad because how do I put it now? It's a form of protest that does not in any way encourage violence, that does not in any way endanger anybody. But I can tell you that while some people are staying home in solidarity with the protest, others are also staying home because they want to stay out of trouble.
Okay, you said Enugu is looking deserted now. Normally they said there's always a sit-at-home in Enugu State. So do you think that this protest is contributing to that, or people are just going by the normality of how they live their life in the southeast, of having Monday as a day not to go out based on what the IPOB individuals have ignited within the southeast region?
No, there was a time the sit-at-home in Enugu was seriously observed. People were literally chased off the street by the activities of the unknown government. But when the governor of the state, assumed office, Governor Peter Mba, he fought vigorously, seriously to push back on this, and the government took the fight to these people. Their camps were raided, and it was also discovered that some criminal elements took advantage of this to be undertaken in some criminality like kidnapping for ransom, robbery, just creating nuisance and all of that. So eventually the government continued to encourage people to come out, and I must say that before now, like last week and the previous weeks, if you were on Mondays, you would not know that it was anything from the rest of the day, that the offices, markets were all open. But today is quite different because today was a day set out by a group, not just IPOB. Showere is somebody that is well known as an activist. People didn't associate him with anything mischievous about this. People didn't believe that he was trying to play some games and all of that. Well, for whatever thing had been his motive or pushing him, that if he is saying the right thing, doing the right thing, and trying to draw attention to this festering situation, that they might as well identify with him. And if you ask me, I will really say that the government really need to do something to resolve this matter. From the way it has dragged on and on in the courts, it's obvious that we may not have a legal solution. We may not have, if we continue to be legalistic about it, we may not have a political solution could actually be ideal for this.
Okay, looking at this current situation now, we can see that streets are obviously deserted, even here in the capital. And then here in the capital, so we are seeing lots of traffic gridlocks. People are finding it very hard to make it to the capital territory to go handle their businesses and whatnot. But now, to what extent can this issue be seen as is it political, ethnic, or purely a legal? There is a legal stance on this because you mentioned as if that those from the southeast are not being inclusive in decision making, which is what the indigenous people of Biafra has been agitating for. So, do you think that is the current situation? Like, do you think it's about ethnicity, or do you think there's a legal ground to this situation based on the fact that Namdekan is being charged with treason and terrorism?
I think it's a mix of all of what you have mentioned.
Okay.
There is ethnicity, it's political also, and then legal aspects, in all of this, because of course he is principally held because he was agitating for independence of the people of the Biafra, his people, the Southeasterners, particularly the Igbo people. So in that aspect, there is an ethnic dimension to that, and it is not an agitation that is without basis at all. I'm an Igbo man. I know I want to be a Nigerian, but I can tell you that the Nigeria of my dream has not actually occurred, because in Nigeria that has continued to exclude me, in Nigeria that has continued to deny me and deprive me of that sense of belonging, is a Nigeria that I wouldn't wish on anybody. I wouldn't want anybody in Nigeria to be deprived. I wouldn't want anybody in Nigeria to be treated as a second-class citizen. I wouldn't want anybody in Nigeria to be treated as a mistake. I wouldn't want anybody in Nigeria to be treated as a nuisance that is better done away with. I wouldn't want anybody in Nigeria to be rejected. I wouldn't want the ex. It is based on maybe what you have done or what you are doing that is criminal in nature. But this one is, I don't know. But I think if you don't like my face, you don't want to see me, you don't want to tolerate me, you don't want to, include me in anything that you are doing that should have belonged to all of us, then it means that you hate me. Why is the hate? And I must tell you that sometimes people forget that when you do something, there will always be a response from the victims, from the person who is suffering that action. So what you are saying is that over time, even those who never believed in what Khan was saying, began to be drawn into his agitation, because it appears that nobody wants to listen. But I want to say that yes, he is now in detention. He had followers. He had those who believe in what he's saying, who are not necessarily members of the IPOB, but who believe in what he's standing for. There are many, and there are millions, and it is in the mind. So even if you don't come out to participate, but you believe that yes, this guy has a point, that they are not treating my people well, and therefore whatever he's saying, the world need to hear this. It's as simple as that. And now the legal aspect, they are using the judiciary to hold him almost indefinitely. And since the many years that his mother has been in court, no single ruling has been achieved in terms of finding guilty of any offense. And that is why I said, look, we have gotten to the point that you can no longer deceive the people. Let us all sit down around a dialogue table and work out a solution to this. And in doing this, definitely the two sides must give and take. There has to be sacrifices from both sides.
Yes.
But the issue is, maybe the government want to continue to fueled by that traditional case, which I believe that has become the mode, of engagement of people from the Southeast. Why don't you squash them? Why don't you describe the Southeast as a dot in a circle? And it seriously illustrated the mindset which our leaders view the Southeasterners, their matters, their rights, their privileges, and all that in this country. So I'm also really expecting this current government to continue treating the issue of the service, particularly the IPB matter, the way their predecessor had done. Because I want to believe that President Tinubu, is a little bit more liberal. Is not, because if you ask me, the former president was more of a fundamentalist in some of these things, and of which Tinubu can be reasonably excused from. But you see, how many years after? I don't know why I'm not involved in negotiations, in the conversation, beyond maybe what we publicly perceive and see. But I don't know why it has been very, very difficult for them to make any reasonable headway towards resolving this matter. But if the government thinks that they will continue to hold Nnamdi Kanu and break his spirit and then totally extinguish the desire of the people to go or to become Biafra or something like that, it is not going to work. I believe what will work is to look at those things that are the reasons why the agitation has been taking place in the first place. Exclusion, maltreatment, making somebody believe that he shouldn't be here. If those things are addressed, I think there is no ethnic group in Nigeria that is more Nigerian than the Igbo people. They are everywhere, wherever they comfortably settle to make home out of that place. They build homes everywhere. They just visit their homeland and go back to spend most of the time where they have settled. And they settle there with every sense of seriousness, patriotism, and contributing in the growth, development, and progress of those places. Because they was used to say, it is where you live, where you stay, that you protect. That is where you want to prosper. Because if that place is prospering, you also benefit from that prosperity. Because if people should come back to the enclave where they want them to become, I think all those places that they have established their businesses, families, and their build houses will suffer for it. They will miss them. But they don't want to kind of come and stay in one place. They want to be wherever they are. Let them be free, like every other person, without prejudice, without any official being hamstrung officially by anything indirectly or directly. Let them just be free to do their business. They are not dragging anything with anybody. They are not even interested in leadership anywhere. All they care for is that level playing field, that freedom, that security to engage in their trading. That's all they care for. And I think the average woman is not interested in who is actually ruling him. What he cares for is whoever is ruling me should make my environment, very, 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 very okay for me to thrive, for me to wake up each morning to go about my to give up my business free of harassment and all of that. So that's all they care for. But people keep misunderstanding them and then keep feeling that their failures are the result of the success of maybe the individual woman around the corner or the group or something like that. No. But I just want people to know that the kind of irrepressible spirit that the people have, you cannot suppress them. You cannot stop. And they just have to stop misunderstanding them. They are not after anybody. They are not dragging anything with anybody. The more you make things more difficult for them, the more they strive to overcome. And the more they strive to overcome, the more capacity they acquire to continue to be around. It's as simple as that.
Okay. Let's look at this other angle. In 2021, when his arrest happened, we've seen where his lawyers, the bulk and said that Nnamdi Kanu's arrest in 2021 was extraordinary rendition. Do you think that this violates international law, and do you think that it violates Nnamdi Kanu's rights? Because that is one of the major concerns now that is also being brought up in court. Not leaving his health concerns, though the Judge James Omotoshon says that the trial will kickstart from Thursday 23rd. And again, he'll be given Wednesday, the 22nd of October, Nnamdi Kanu and his counsel a time properly to have a conversation and come up with their brief. So looking at the legalities of this now, though another court has ordered, judged differently, saying that Nnamdi Kanu's arrest into and extradited into the country was illegal. So on those bases now, how do you think the international community will react to this protest that is ongoing currently in Nigeria and in line with release Nnamdi Kanu now?
Okay. Yes, of course. There was an extraordinary rendition perpetrated against Nnamdi Kanu. He was lured and then I don't know, probably sedated and brought back. So what happened to Kanu was just like, in fact, the Buhari government did successfully what they tried to do in the 80s with the late Omar Rodiko, when they tried and attempted to create him with some Israeli agents and bring him back to Nigeria. You know, he eventually did that, and I would want to believe that the president had his own personal grudges against him and all of that. And yes, I think the law is clear on that, even though the matter is in court. I'm not a lawyer, but I know that a lot of legal luminaries, those who should know, have also weighed in the matter to say that yes, his rights were violated. You don't forcibly kidnap somebody and bring him back to the country, and then because you can nothing legal can stand on something illegal. I think they say that something cannot stand on nothing. So the illegality of the process has already rendered it a nullity before the court. So that is why they've not been able to make any meaningful progress in the trial. That's exactly why. And I think the international community have their own opinion on that. Just like the needless debate as to whether there is Christian genocide in Nigeria or not. I mean, come on, everybody knows there is. Most of the people that are killed in the middle belt, are Christian. Those in fact, even down here, people have suffered extensively from the attacks of the extent that they want to euphemistically kind of launder by referring to as header farmer class. We know that doesn't exist. We know who are behind the attacks. So today, I can say that the incident has, to be fair to this government, the incident this way has reduced. And I can tell you that because more farmers have access to their fields to farm, the incident of food shortages is coming down. You go to the market today, especially here in Enugu, you will notice that with 1,000 naira that they used to buy 3 cups of rice in the period of Buhari's government, when it was like an open invitation and support to the people who were attacking the farmers in their fields and all of that, to now that there has been some meaningful effort to tackle the insecurity in that sector, in that aspect. You can now buy, because here in the south we don't measure in mudu as you do in the north. We measure in cups and in paper. Okay. So here, 1,000 naira that we used to buy 3 cups of rice, now we can buy 6-7 cups of rice for you now in Enugu. So that's a measure, a practical measure of progress. Okay. We want it to be sustained. So the government really need to sit up about this kind of, like today we've lost today. We practically lost in the south, and even maybe many parts of this country where it was observed. And of course, you know that the Igbos control the markets, as in they are majority traders almost in all of it. And some of them will close in solidarity, in support. Some will close just to be safe, because we don't know what will happen. But whichever way, whatever happens, that the shots are short means that the economy is taking a hit. And we don't need all those things. Okay.
All right. We definitely do not need all those things, because people need to move around for the economy to grow based on what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu says ahead of 2030, trying to grow Nigerians' GDP to 1 trillion. So now let's look at the legalities. So that's what we're actually still looking at. Based on the fact that, okay, just last week we saw that the report coming back from the National Medical Association of Nigeria saying that Mr. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is very fit to undergo trial, which is set for the 23rd of October this month. Looking at it now, if you think if Nnamdi Kanu is actually not guilty of all of these charges, why do you think that his legal counsel are coming around with ways to scale out of going for trial in this current situation?
No. You see, you cannot say he is guilty because nobody has pronounced him guilty yet.
Yes, nobody. Yes.
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 A lot of tricks, a lot of drama, a lot of all of these have been coming from both sides, from both Nnamdi Kanu's the defense side and of course the prosecution. Sometimes you don't forget that this is not the judge that started. A lot of judges have handled Kanu's matter.
Yes, this is the fourth judge. Yes, handling this.
Aside from the trial and all of that, you will see that sometimes all these people are doing is just to keep the trial in perpetuity. They keep using all sorts of excuses to delay the trial. Sometimes you also see the defense also engaging in some diversionary tactics, and of course, I'm not a lawyer, but I want to say that if you ask me, the government has not been acting truly like they really want anything to come out of that trial. They are in a fit because I don't think they have sufficient evidence against him.
Yes.
Because to prove treason, to prove all those things, all the allegations against him, it's not just something that somebody will come and tell a story and then it stands. That evidence are needed. And I don't think the prosecution have them. But let's see, let the trial get underway. By the time it gets underway, the people will now see what is happening. But most times, a case of high-profile political nature like this, what you see is this kind of theatrics, this kind of drama. Because even those who are holding him, they know that they are not really holding him so much because of whatever alleged crime he has committed, but because of what they want to control, what the narrative they want to control, and the situation they want to foist, and what they want the public to see. But I must say that the case has given us every ample reason to look at it as one that may never be reasonably concluded, legally. Because it's so much. It's just in nature.
As we're getting set to wrap up now, let's talk about Shawere, who is the convener of today's protest. Why do you think it took Shawere this long time, and why do you think basically he decided to make this announcement for Nigerians to come out in line to protest for the release of Nnamdi Kanu? Do you think he's looking to buy favor with those from the southeast ahead of the 2027 election?
No, I think he just those who do not know Shawere will not understand the kind of things that motivate and propel people like that. I think Shawere, like any reasonable human being and any reasonable Nigerian, someone like Shawere, who has also been in the field, of rights, agitation and struggle, he understands typically the thinking and the inner minds of the government. The government views people who oppose them, oppose the establishment. So, and he also understands that these people are not serious with the trial.
Yes.
You can't send him and you cannot, try him conclusively and jail him. You are just holding him. Another that matter, he has been there for about 5 years.
Yes.
What kind of trouble would Even the trial of Mandela didn't last this long. You know, the trial of Mandela didn't last this long. And they concluded it. They found him guilty and jailed him for life.
Yes.
If they think that can't do anything, let them conclude that trial and jail him. Pronounce that guilty verdict on him and let the world see how they came to that conclusion. But they don't want to do that. Obviously, they don't want to do that. So, Shogore, I think he just got fed up, like most people. Man, if you don't have anything against this man, let him go. Let him go. Or you try him, be serious with the trial, and let's see how it goes. Okay. So, if you ask me why now, the question should also be, why not now? Has it not delayed to that extent that should raise so a serious concern with any right-thinking human being? Has it not dragged on to that extent with somebody's freedom denied? To warrant, a person of good conscience to ask questions. So I think it is not too far or too far-fetched to kind of try to decipher what is behind Shogore's move. I don't think he has any personality, because anybody who comes out to protest in Nigeria and on this very particular matter knows that nobody is waiting for you with a steaming pot of soup and rice to eat. It wasn't a Dabachi event. This one, you are going to meet police wielding guns, bullets, and throwing tear gas. So I don't think it is the kind of a social gathering that people will be looking forward to. So anybody who wants to embark on this understand pretty well that he's going to face quite rough handling from the law enforcement. But I must say that so far, I've not heard of any incident of violence or anywhere. But in Enugu here, you were talking about people, motorists finding it difficult to move around in Abuja. But here in Enugu, the road is totally free. When I drove to work this morning, the road was very free, really quiet. It reminded me of those days of the ending of the seat at home, when people were up the streets and all that. Now the streets are quiet, absolutely quiet. Nobody is, and I'm not thinking that it could ever get violence anywhere in Enugu. People are just quietly waiting for today to roll by so that they can continue with their lives. And of course, the statement are strongly made that yes, this man in detention, the government should do something about it.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Wardnot Amechi, for taking our time to join us on today's edition of Discourse, and thank you so much for all of your input on the subject matter.
Thank you. The name actually is Word Shot.
Okay, Word Shot. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Wardshot. And a whole lot of concerns going on, protesters being dispatched by Nigerian police here in the capital, and still a very, very heavy gridlock around Karunyanya as it stands for those heading into the town that's talking about the Federal Capital Territory here in Abuja. And this is how much time will permit us to take on today's edition of Discuss. My name is Samuel Odi. I'll see you again as we discuss further. Bye for now.